Why it is. Good morning, Hawaii. It's Damn Cam hitting you with some damn talk. Got my thinking cap on this morning. Came across headlines with the man, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is from Bloomberg News. Former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger said his fellow Republicans are pushing a nuts legal theory in a pivotal U.S. Supreme Court case that would allow state lawmakers to draw partisan maps without fear of judicial oversight. What does this mean? Well, we continue. Under the independent state legislative theory, state legislators would be free to draw districts that protect parties and incumbents while leaving voters with no realistic recourse at the ballot. This is what the actor-turned-politician said in a friend-of-court briefing filed on Wednesday in Washington. The star of Terminator and Kindergarten Cop, who led California from 2003 to 2011, was more blunt on Twitter, where he posted a link to the Supreme Court brief for his 5.1 million followers, as opposed to our 5 followers. Hasta la vista. Supreme Court agreed in June to use a North Carolina redistricting case to consider adopting the far-reaching legal doctrine, which would shift more federal election power to state legislators that are now disproportionately controlled by Republicans. Republican lawmakers are seeking to reinstate a GOP-drawn map that state courts invalidated as being so partisan it violated the North Carolina Constitution. Republicans led by North Carolina House Speaker Timothy Moore have argued that the U.S. Constitution provides the state legislators, not state judges, bear primary responsibility for setting election rules. The conservative justices Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, and Neil Gorsuch suggested in March they agreed with those arguments. However, Alito wrote for the group that they, quote-unquote, must take that language seriously. We would interject that all language in a Supreme Court hearing needs to be taken seriously, especially the language that ultimately gets passed into law. And we would cite the Supreme Court ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade earlier this year as an example of when the Supreme Court gets a decision wrong. And I'm not talking about the overturning of said constitutional right. I'm talking about making the right to abortion a constitutional right to begin with. Now, being pro-choice, I take no pride in saying they made a mistake back in the 70s when they made that initial ruling. However, I must clearly state, I do believe that we are a republic. We have individual territories that are responsible for governing themselves, that are overseen by a federal government. Now, when any given state or territory presumes more responsibility, more power and authority than the federal government, that's when the government on a federal level needs to intervene. When it comes to elections, fair and safe, we should not be considering involving foreign parties into our elections, which is something I have heard Democratic leaders now floating out there, already insinuating that the integrity of the 2024 election cannot be trusted, which is a extreme double standard when I'm constantly barraged with the claims of election deniers, predominantly on the red side, when we have Hillary Clinton and Stacey Abrams, both on the front line with the blue side, adamantly denying the results of their elections. When it comes down to it, we want to make sure the language our representatives use is clear, concise, understandable. Therefore, we can decide whether or not we agree with it or not, as Mr. Schwarzenegger has now so taken it upon himself vocally to demonstrate his disagreement with Republican lawmakers in this decision. It is the right of the people to demand the government work for us. Join me. Let's talk about what we can do to further our position in this giant chessboard, what we can do to bring light to these issues that are all too commonly just swept under the rug or made to be so confusing that peons like yourself and I will just dismiss it because, you know, we got lives to live. We got things to do. I'm in Hawaii. I gotta go get to work. But I wanted to bring this quick announcement to you this morning and say, damn, I'll be back. Damn Cam. Peace.